don't look anything like you. They're going to look really different. And so they'll sort of prime the pump or sort of give everyone a heads up that the Syrians are coming. And when the Syrians come, they will be meeting with governments and scientists, but also they're going to meet with 12 grassroots contactees because they don't want to seem elitist by just meeting with government officials and so on. So they've chosen 12 people to meet with, and I'm one of the 12.
Out of all of the people on Earth, they've chosen 12 people, and you are one of the 12. That's what
I've been told.
And will you be able to go to the ship?
Right. Now, this is where it gets interesting because it wasn't. You have to understand again. Antura, and he pointed this out to me. He said, "Tom, if you notice, I didn't lay everything on you all at once. It was a little bit at a time. Sometimes I would have questions." 2 or 3 sessions a week when I do this active meditation. Other times I might go months without one single question. But as I ask the questions, slowly but surely, this picture of what they were doing. He's part of a first contact team. And I said, how were you chosen to be part of this first contact team? And he said, Tom, I've had 800 lives on Earth. And so he says, I have the gift of gab. And so that was why he was chosen. He's and as part of a first contact team, Earth is not his first stop. He's been elsewhere, even to this other nearby universe that we can see in our night sky and we think is part of our universe, which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. And so he informs me finally one day that I'm not just going to the mothership, and he had also given me some. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to go really fast, 20,000 miles an hour or whatever to the moon, and then we're going to portal hop back so I can show you what a portal hop is.
Okay, now hold on a minute, Tom. We're running into our break, and I think that's a real tasty spot to leave everyone just hanging so that we know they'll come back after the break. We're going to take 5 minutes or so, and we'll be right back. You're listening to EPIC Voyages Radio on inceptionradionetwork.com, and we're talking with Tom T. Moore about his latest book, First Contact. And when we come back, I'll be sharing the dial-in number for people who want to ask questions, and we're going to hear exactly what he's going to do on this mothership with his Syrian ancestors. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, folks. Welcome back, folks. You're listening to EPIC Voyages Radio tonight on inceptionradionetwork.com. I am Laurel Tague, and I'm the host tonight. I'm speaking with Tom T. Moore, who is a speaker, a traveler, and has written 3 books now, who develops most of his information that's covered in his books from, I don't want to say trance. Tom, how would you describe it in a very short term? It's not a trance, and it's more than a meditation. What would you call it?
I call it an active meditation because I'm doing telepathic communication. It's like lucid, in a way it's like lucid dreaming, but it's not dreaming. You're wide awake, and it's a meditation. I'm receiving thought packets.
Right.
And if anyone that has read anything about telepathy knows that, as an example, Duke University did experiments for over 25 years with people trying to, they'd have a sender and a receiver, and someone would try and send the shape of a triangle or a box or a circle, and the other person would try and receive it. What I feel that the scientists missed on was that they did not understand what part of the brain is involved in this telepathic communication. Had they had both of their subjects in a light meditative trance with a little practice, they could have been doing sentences and everything, and the people would not even have to be in the same room or across campus. They could have been halfway around the world. But that's something the scientists have not quite figured out yet, and I only did it because I'm doing it.
You're talking about the ESP cards that were used by J.B. Rhine.
Yes.
In their studies of ESP, and I think one of the reasons that they at least started with those cards and that particular paradigm for the experiment is because he was trying to measure the ability of the person receiving. But your point is well taken that you're kind of stabbing in the dark if your sender doesn't know how to send, right? It's not just a matter of sitting there and looking at a picture in your hands. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, you're doing it mentally.
Right. Okay. So it was a flawed experimental design to start with.
Right. Again, if they had a way to put these people into a light meditative alpha state, then with a little bit of practice, I guarantee it would work, because I've taught this in workshops to people. I put them into a meditative state and ask them to contact their guardian angel and ask a question or two. And right off the bat, 20 or 25% of the people can receive something, and other people can only receive maybe a word or two, and then some people can't receive anything, that they sort of block it. So it takes practice in order to do this. And I sincerely believe that when we go to the stars, and we aren't going till 3250, that's when we finally are able to go to the stars. When we go to the stars, I believe we're going to have people that are really experts in telepathic communications that will be on these ships, because what happens, how will you be able to communicate with other races that in many cases don't even speak, that they chirp, or they'll do all sorts of other things. You do it by mental telepathy or telepathic communication, receiving these thought packets back and forth so that you can tell them that you're good people and you'd like to set up meetings with them or something.
Right, and we mean no harm.
Right.
I want to remind everyone that the name of your new book is First Contact, and it's already available for download at Amazon.com. They can also pre-order the hard copy at Amazon.com, and it should be flying off the shelves before the end of the month, somewhere around the 26th of June. And Tom's website, which I'm putting in the chat room right now, is thegentlewaybook.com, where you can find sample chapters to read of all three of his books. You can also find archived newsletters, weekly newsletters from all the way back in 2007. And what I think is the handiest feature is the way that you have set it up for people to do searches by keywords and topics. And your search engine comes back with every item and every article that addresses what the keyword was. And for someone doing research, that's pretty handy.
Yes.
So we were with Tom before the break. Oh, one more thing. Let me give you the dial-in number for InceptionRadioNetwork.com. It's 888-919-2355. You can also Skype in, or you can go to the chat room and type in a question there. Just before we left on the break, Tom was telling us about after the first ETs actually show up in Russia in 2015, a couple of years later, in 2017, a very small group of people from Earth will be selected as sort of ambassadors. And I don't mean that they are political or rich celebrities or anything like that, but they will be selected to go on board the mothership and travel with some of these beings from other planets. And that's where we left Tom. So, Tom, get back to your story now.
Okay. And first of all, as an example, Antura has it will be meeting with three people, three grassroots contactees on Earth. One of the contactees is another member of our soul group or soul cluster. It's a lady that's that's living a life in Provence in France. In fact, she lives, I believe, in Saint Paul de Vence, which I visited as part of my when I was on business at Cannes. Typically, I would have 1 or 2 days before I'd have to start working, and I would explore the countryside. And St. Paul de Vence was one of the little towns that I visited, but I didn't know at the time that I had a soul sister there. And the other person lives in Taiwan, and Antura has had, I think, several lives with this person. It's not a member of our soul group, but there is a familiarity, and of course he's been in contact with these other two people already. Although they're not writing books, they will disseminate. They'll write books afterwards or whatever. So that's sort of how that's going to work. So here I am. I'm going to the mothership in a scout craft that is supposedly about 40 or 50 feet wide. The mothership is like over a mile wide. It'll have a crew of 850 beings. It can hold crews of 700 to 1,000 typically. And I thought, oh boy, I'm just going to get to run around and look at things. And then I'm told I'm going to be shooting the first documentary ever shot on board a mothership. And I'm going to be interviewing all of these beings. And there's going to be plant beings, there's going to be bird beings, there's going to be insect beings, and even a couple of reptilians.
Wow. That's amazing. We've got a question here from the chat room, Tom. How do you know, this goes back to your active meditation, how do you know when you're really getting an answer from a guardian angel, a guide, and it's not just you thinking that you're doing it, you're making it up, it's not just wishful thinking? How do you know the difference?
Okay, there are a couple of things. First of all, my guardian angel Theo has never, in all the years that I've been communicating with him, has never told me to do anything. When I've asked him if I should do this or that, he says, "You're on Earth to make those decisions. You're on Earth to learn how to make those decisions as part of the Earth experiment." And so all my decisions I have to make on my own. Then number two, another way that I can tell that I'm getting communications from him is that I will have perhaps a preconceived idea of what an answer will be, and the answer I receive will be 180 degrees the other way. So at that point, I really know that I'm communicating, because it's not the answer that I thought I was going to get at all.
Here's another interesting comment from someone in the chat room that's related to what you're talking about in a way. He says, a lady I know who does this says that it's very taxing and not at all an easy thing to do. Is that your experience with it, or is it not so taxing for you?
I can typically, I can't go more than an hour to an hour and 15 minutes without losing my concentration. Okay? Now, for a